You're watching Tornado Facts with Beanrock124, Season 3, Episode 15 or Episode 55. My name is Nathan and I love talking about tornadoes. Yeah, 55 episodes of this thing. Technically almost 60. It's the 59th if you count all the special episodes, but in reality, it's the 55th episode of Tornado Facts with Beanrock124, and this is an outbreak I've been wanting to talk about forever. I haven't gotten the chance to because we're going in chronological order of all these events. But this is the tornado outbreak sequence of March 9 through 13, 2006. This was an early season and long-lasting tornado outbreak sequence in the central United States that started on the morning of March 9 and continued over 4 days until the evening of March 13. The outbreak produced 99 tornadoes, which killed a total of 10 people. The Storm Prediction Center issued multiple elevated outlooks throughout the sequence, including a rare high risk for March 12, which would end up being the most intense day of the outbreak, producing 62 tornadoes in total. 11 F3 tornadoes were tallied, and a violent F4 tornado touched down in Monroe County, Missouri, becoming the strongest tornado of the entire outbreak. Multiple tornado emergencies were issued for tornadoes throughout the outbreak as well. An intense F3 tornado that affected the towns of Rennick and Madison in Missouri killed 4 people and injured dozens others. Dozens others. That works. That was the deadliest tornado of the sequence. Multiple tornadoes were long-tracked in nature, with 6 of them having paths exceeding 30 miles. One particular thunderstorm during it was a supercell actually, during the outbreak persisted for many hours and progressed in excess of 800 miles through Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and extreme southern Michigan. I believe that is the longest-lasting supercell thunderstorm in history. The onslaught of supercells responsible for the sequence also produced hundreds of damaging wind gusts and hail reports accompanying the storms. That was weird to say. These additional elements caused millions in damage and multiple injuries, in addition to 2 fatalities, which were as a result of weather-related automobile accidents and a fire started by lightning. In addition to the tornadic fatalities, this sequence was responsible for 182 tornadic injuries, most of them concentrating in Missouri and Illinois, the hardest hit states by the outbreak. The total damage by the severe weather caused by this outbreak was in excess of $1 billion. Now here's your really long meteorological synopsis. This is for March 9, 10, and 11. Beginning on March 9, the Storm Prediction Center issued a moderate risk spanning across northern and central portions of Dixie Alley, reaching into western Tennessee and western Kentucky. A slight risk was given to the surrounding area, reaching into the Ohio Valley and to the east, including sections of north-central Georgia and the Florida Panhandle. While wind shear patterns and instability were conductive for the development of supercells and possibly strong tornadoes, this event was forecast to materialize as a major derecho event. Still, the elevated helicity values reaching 300 meters squared per second squared and elevated dew points reaching into the 60s aided the issuance of a large 15% hatched area for strong EF2 plus tornadoes throughout the moderate risk area. However, an even larger 45% hatched risk for damaging winds was placed throughout many of the same areas, forecasting the risk for the serial derecho to materialize. As the event unfolded, multiple tornadoes were reported, including a damaging EF2 tornado that caused, this should be F2 because this is 2006, that's caused significant damage in the Morton and Fair Oaks towns of Arkansas. However, the main event was a widespread derecho, obviously, that prompted hundreds of severe damaging wind gusts throughout the main risk area. Tens of thousands of people also lost electricity throughout the region, and 2 non-tornadic deaths happened on March 9, one by damaging wind and another that was killed by lightning bolt after a lightning bolt ignited a house fire. A slight risk was issued for many of the same areas on March 10, though only a 2% risk of tornadoes was issues. Mostly in 2 corridors in the Arlatex region extending into Missouri, and another one mostly in Mississippi and west central Alabama. The main risk was expected to be hail, and as the evening advanced, dozens of large hail reports came in from the aforementioned areas. However, no tornadoes touched down in this area, though an F0 did occur all the way in California, causing damage near the town of a town in San Diego County, we'll just say that. A much more substantial tornado event materialized on March 11. The Storm Prediction Center again issued a moderate risk of severe weather, primarily driven by a 45% hatched risk for large destructive hail centered in Missouri and Arkansas, though it extended into extreme eastern Oklahoma and southwestern Illinois. However, elevated wind shear values ranging from 50 to 70 knots and steep mid-level lapse values meant the environment was favorable for supercells, so a 10% hatched area for strong tornadoes was introduced for the area, as any supercell that could remain discrete would be capable of sustaining and producing strong tornadoes. The most favorable window for severe weather was expected to be overnight into the 0 to 600 hour, meaning that any tornadoes that could develop would be difficult to see. Now, as the night progressed, multiple supercells popped up in Oklahoma, eventually advancing throughout the risk area. Hundreds of damaging hail reports occurred in this area as well. However, as the supercells entered the more favorable environment for tornadoes, multiple of them became tornadic, resulting in multiple strong to intense tornadoes. One particular long-track tornado supercell produced a tornado family in southeastern Missouri, which included a deadly F3 tornado that killed 2 people in Perry County during its 53.5-mile path, which crossed it to Illinois before dissipating near the town of Tamora. The supercell had produced a long-track damaging F2 previous to this one, as it traveled through Reynolds, Iron, and Madison counties. I believe these are in Indiana, or Missouri, sorry, yes they are. Okay, another supercell near this one produced another intense F3 tornado in the town of Festus, Missouri, before crossing into Illinois. The tornadoes were accompanied by very large hail, some as large as softballs, before the day came to a close. Now, on March 12, here's the outlook. High risk of severe weather here. I don't remember documenting this one, though. Yes, I do remember, actually. Okay, never mind. The next day, on March 12, conditions became even more favorable for the development of severe weather. The SBC, in its 1630 UTC outlook, introduced an incredibly rare high risk for many of the same areas from the day prior. I don't know why it's incredibly rare when we just had one on March 31st, and it was issued during the same outlook time. Anyways, with the main corridor being placed in eastern Kansas, most of Missouri, southeastern Iowa, and central Illinois. Oh, I would have loved to chase on this day. The high risk was driven by the elevated probabilities of long-track, strong to intense tornadoes all along the main high-risk corridor, and a 30% hatched risk for F2 plus tornadoes was given to the corridor as a result. Remember, this is 2006. I don't know why it says EF2 here. See, look, F3, F3, F2, EF2. What is this? A 45 hatched area for large hail was also placed throughout the risk area, as many supercells capable of producing tornadoes would also produce large hail on their track. A potent upper level trough progressing along. A potent upper level trough progressing along a strong 100 to 120 knot jet stream in an area deepened by a progressing surface low in Oklahoma and Kansas was the driving factor for the intense convective activity later in the evening and overnight hours. Additionally, sufficient moisture aided by dew points in the 60s, Cape values in the 1500 to 3000 joule per kilogram range, and very favorable low-level wind shear further destabilized the atmosphere, making it even more favorable for sustained supercells, capable of all hazards. However, a capping inversion in place for most of the day limited convective initiation at first, keeping all the necessary ingredients at bay. However, after the cap moved in the evening, multiple lines of powerful supercells began to form, soon entering the primed environment for tornadoes. As such, 2 PDS tornado watches were issued for most of the risk area, highlighting the elevated probabilities for intense tornadoes to develop in these areas. As the morning advanced, severe weather spearheaded by severe wind affected the Kansas City area, with significant wind and hail damage to many homes and businesses, but only 2 tornadoes were reported in the far northwestern part of the city. Significant damage was also reported at the University of Kansas in Lawrence. The day I'm recording this, May 28th, Lawrence got hit by an EF4 tornado, and at the Great Wolf Lodge Indoor Water Park. I thought that was an only Gurnee, Illinois, and Wisconsin Dells thing. I guess not. Numerous airplanes also flipped at the Kansas City downtown airport. As the evening advanced, the main line of supercells began to take shape, eventually becoming a widespread line, being responsible for many of the tornadoes throughout the remainder of the day. One exceptionally long-lived supercell thunderstorm was responsible for many of the tornadoes on March 12. This storm began in the morning over northern Oklahoma before embarking on a nearly 800-mile-long journey through northeast across southeastern Kansas, Missouri during the afternoon and evening, and into Illinois during the mid to late evening, and through Indiana by the late evening and into lower Michigan, where it lost severe characteristics more than 17 and a half hours after inception. The supercell lasted the longest and traveled the furthest than any other supercell in history. I knew it. The city of Springfield, Illinois saw 2 strong F2 tornadoes that tracked directly through the city from that storm. The storm also did damage in Sedalia, Columbia, and Mexico, Missouri. The deadliest from this outbreak sequence came from another supercell in F3, where an F3 tornado was formed, which killed 4 people near the town of Rennick, Missouri. The strongest tornado spawned by this same supercell was a rare double tornado, or a tornado with a satellite, or multi-vortex tornado. It was rated an F4, but fortunately it remained over mainly rural countryside except for causing F4 damage. Multiple other tornadoes came from this intense line, including multiple strong to intense tornadoes in the western region of the main risk area in Oklahoma and Arkansas, where F3 tornadoes struck the towns of Twin Oaks, Oklahoma, and areas southwest of Bentonville, Arkansas. The storms progressed into the overnight hours and into the early morning on March 13, before the main line of storms finally came to an end. And finally, a moderate risk of severe weather was issued by the Storm Prediction Center on March 13, as a severe damaging wind event was expected to materialize in the Ohio River Valley area and extending into the Great Lakes region. A 45% hatched risk for damaging wind gusts was issued for this whole area, with an accompanying 10% unhatched risk for tornadoes. So there was just a 10% risk of tornadoes. A slight risk of severe weather alongside a 5% chance of tornadoes extended into Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. As the day progressed, the expected wind event did not materialize, though some weak tornadoes did occur in the southern regions of the risk area. 15 more tornadoes were reported on March 13 in Alabama and Mississippi before the system finally weakened and the severe weather came to an end. Whew, that was a mouthful. I think that took 10-15 minutes to say? I probably am right, but who knows. But here are the confirmed tornadoes after a million years. None unrated: 45 F0, 26 F1, 16 F2, 11 F3s, and 1 F4. Fortunately, no F5s for a total of 99 tornadoes. And here are the freaking tornadoes after... Hey, look. Oh, really? There's no article about my own named hometown in Arkansas? Maybe I should move here. Maybe I'll get the article created. I don't know. Let's move on. March 10, the water spout in we're going to try and pronounce this here. Encinitas, I think. Tell me if I got that wrong. I don't know. Here's the F3 tornado that killed 2 people that crossed from Missouri to Illinois. Hit Chester, Illinois, which got hit by another EF3 tornado on October 24, 2021. So 15 years after this. That was on the ground for 53.5 miles. This is another F3 that caused damage that crossed from Missouri to Illinois. And then March 12. Where's the Springfield ones? Okay, the first Springfield one, tracked for 67 miles, half a mile wide. It is the picture that you see in the thumbnail, I believe. I cannot confirm whether or not it is, but I'll figure it out. That was the first Springfield tornado, and here's the second one, right here. This was a 4-mile long tornado track. It was also an F2 that was 400 yards wide. And then another one east of that was on the ground for 12.5 miles. And then another one, 2 of them in Logan County, 2 F2s in Logan County, 400 yard wide, 200 yard. This kind of reminds me of what happened with that supercell that went through Sherman, Illinois on March 31st that I was half an hour away from. It kind of reminds me of that, except this completely affected Springfield instead of missing it to the north. Maroa, which got hit by a tornado on January 3 of this year, got hit by an F1 tornado on this day, and then another one there, bigger one, and then the F4 tornado here. It was on the ground for 29 miles, 500 yards wide. There was one in Ford County, Illinois, which is in the National Weather Service Chicagoland area. And then where are we here? What state is this? Oh, it's Missouri. It'd be nice if it said it. It doesn't even give you the state name. What? Okay, I'm confused. Okay, anyways, we're done with that. And here are some non-tornadic events, most of them situated in Illinois. Extremely strong winds were reported throughout northwestern Illinois and eastern Iowa. A record wind gust of 107 miles an hour was recorded at the Quad Cities Airport in Moline, which I have driven past before. You probably know what day that was. I did it. The wind measurement was verified with backup equipment from the Federal Aviation Administration after the main instrument failed. The winds, which were equivalent to a strong Category 2 hurricane, caused severe damage to numerous homes along with countless trees and power lines. The damage was reported to have been caused by a microburst. Never been in one. And in northern Illinois, Chicagoland, microburst containing winds of 85 to 100 miles an hour was reported in Bridgeview, a southwest suburb of Chicago. The microburst hit the area just after midnight on March 13. It may have been part of a supercell to hit the southern suburbs just before the thunderstorm complex exited the area at 3 a.m. Central Time. I'm going to have to look into that. Roofs were ripped off apartments along a three-block length, and 7 garages were damaged or destroyed, according to the Chicago Tribune. Harlem Avenue and Bridgeview, Highway 43, in the vicinity of 77th Street was closed for 4 hours while debris was cleared from the road. Flash flooding closed Highway 45 around Route 30. This is down in... I'm trying to think, Route 45 or Route 30. That is by Manhattan, I think. But major flooding was not reported on any of the area highways during rush hour. 15,000 customers were left without power as the thunderstorms passed. The number had been reduced to 2,000 by daybreak, but strong winds knocked a total of 17,000 customers offline as of midday Monday. Strong winds also forced the closure of parts of downtown Evanston when building material flew off a 29-story building that exists in Evanston, slightly injuring a construction worker. 4 more construction workers were injured, one seriously in Antioch, where a roof being constructed for a new church collapsed due to the wind. A wind advisory was issued by the National Weather Service indicating sustained winds of at least 30 miles an hour and gusts up to 50. It would have been nice if there was a warning beforehand. Anyways, in eastern Illinois, both Ford and Iroquois counties reported damage due to microbursts. In Ford County along Highway 9, power poles were snapped and damage to vehicles was recorded and attributed to a microburst which had winds between 85 and 100 miles an hour. In Iroquois County, most of a cattle building was blown into a field just west of Highway 1 near Milford. The microburst had reported winds of 90 miles an hour. And finally, damage around Crescent City and I-57 in Iroquois County was likely caused by straight-line winds. And with that, that is the end of this episode of Tornado Facts with Beanrock124 after, like 20 minutes. So with that, goodbye.